Welcome to the Trek Wars podcast, the one podcast that dares to answer the most important question in fandom, which is better, Star Trek or Star Wars, by going through both franchises in chronological release order. I am Kenny Madison, the Star Trek contingent. With me, as per always, is
Aspen, Webster, Star Wars lover.
And today we are both loving both of these episodes from Star Trek the Original Series Season 3, The Mark of Gideon, versus Star Wars The Clone Wars Season 1, The Hidden Enemy. Ooh,
I
Aspen.
I respect your segue considerably, but I disagree on principle.
Yeah, go on, please.
Oh, I mean, we'll talk about it, but I can tell you one of these episodes was good. One of these episodes was so boring I almost fell asleep.
Boy, I wonder which one.
I mean, here
I
we are.
just,
Here we are.
I just wonder which one it could have possibly been. What you are talking about, an episode that is definitely just so passionately written.
The hidden enemy.
That's right.
God damn. God damn, this season 3 of Star Trek. Do you
It's
want all
getting
that weird?
it's
It's
getting pretty sleepy.
I'm just fucking tired.
Yeah.
I'm getting a touch of the way that I felt with like some Ewoks episodes where I was like, come on, nah.
Speaking of rushing the trip, someone that wanted to rush the synopsis for The Mark of Gideon, which was, of course, released January 17th, 1969. Writers George F. Slavin and
Live.
Stanley Adams, director Judd Taylor, who just directed Wink of an Eye.
Good for him.
Very good for him. Joan Crosby, for her syndicated column TV Scout,
Okay.
wrote,
Joan, give it to me.
"There is never a lack of confusion on Star Trek, and tonight's show is no exception. Captain Kirk is beamed down to a planet and he disappears, but that's not the case from Kirk's outlook. According to his experience, everyone else on the ship has disappeared. Actually, he is being held incommunicado by an alien society that enjoys their space isolation, and they intend to keep it that way."
Okay. Okay. Cool. Thanks, June. Joan. Joan. June?
Joan.
Joan? Joan?
Joan.
Yeah, and to add a little bit more detail to it, he's being held, and the surprise of it is that he this society, um, they don't die, so they are looking for him to infect them with a virus. It's fucking weird. We'll get into it, I guess.
Yeah, we'll
But
we'll get
just
into it.
just for some context that Joan didn't give, despite her syndicated column, I'm sure
She
being
she
very
really just
popular.
nailed the synopsis of the Mark of Gideon.
Um, yeah, we'll talk about some, like, immediate reactions, but one of those episodes where you're like, "Cool concept. What the fuck's going on?
What is going on? What did
What
you
did you what?"
you had more than 6 hours to write this episode. This is what you came up with?
What says that?
We paid for sub sandwiches for this writer's room, and this is all you could come up with?
We got you the good coffee, Folgers, and this is all you could come up with?
This is what you could come up with?
Um,
Judd
yeah,
Taylor, you just directed Let That Be Your Last Battlefield. This is what you come up with?
clearly. Um, yeah, it's just a very bewildering situation for me. In that, but once again, proving that some Star Trek episodes should just be 30 minutes.
Aspen,
What?
this is a bewildering episode.
I am deeply bewildered by everyone's actions. Let's talk about The Hidden Enemy. Star Wars The Clone Wars The Hidden Enemy, released February 6th, 2009. It was directed by Stuart Lee. Great job, Stuart.
Stewart, great job.
Written by Drew Z. Greenberg, Brian Larson as staff writer. Um, yeah, great job, everybody. Oh gosh, sorry, I just was looking at the IMDb and it was like, that's right, Asajj Ventress was in this. Just a beautiful episode of just all your faves. Anakin and Obi-Wan discover evidence of a traitor amongst their ranks while attempting
Traitor.
to lead Republic forces to liberate Christophsis from a separatist siege. And this, much like Jones' column, doesn't go into much more detail, but it then leads to an investigation by our faves, Rex and Cody, which there's a real Rex and Cody heavy ep, which is fabulous to try to weed this person out while they kind of go on a bit of a um They go on a little bit of adventure, do some fighting, and meet Asajj.
Asajj Venture is more like it.
Ken, not to immediately dive into things,
Mhm.
but do you see what I've been hinting at for like every time Asajj Ventress has popped up in things, how I've been like, I ship her with every single person that hates her, that she
What's
hates in
wild is
return.
that she's so horny.
Yeah. This is like one of the episodes where she and Obi-Wan are flirting so profoundly that
Mhm.
it is one of those moments where you're like, a kid
Mhm.
show?
Mhm.
Like, he even calls her dear at one point. He's just like, "Lovely to see you, dear." And you're just like,
Dear.
"Meep dee beep 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 boo." I'm beep de boo. Also, I will say I was being a little bad with this episode. I had it on while I was watering the plants.
Dare
Hopefully,
you.
I didn't miss anything.
How dare you.
I really needed to water the plants.
How dare you.
There's so many. So, anyway, so that's it. It's been a great episode. Hope to see y'all soon. Talk soon, everybody.
And thank you so much. I love you, Aspen.
I love you too, Kenny. Goodbye.
May the force be with you. And live long and prosper.
I like that you assumed it would win.
Let's not beat around the bush. One of these episodes is bound to elect you as mayor of Nap City.
I'm the mayor of Nap City, and here
That's
I
right.
am. And my first order of business is to honk, shoe, me, me, me. So, yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. Yeah, I don't know how you feel. You want to start with the one we hated or the one we liked?
um, let's start.
Mm.
Let's start with the one that there. I think there are worse episodes than Mark of Gideon. But what is
Yeah,
really disappointing about this episode, and I
right.
think what is even more disappointing than an outright terrible episode
Mhm.
or a catastrophic episode, is the fact that it is so mid.
Yeah,
It is
that there's
obfuscated.
potential.
There's oh my gosh,
So
yes.
much potential.
It
Yes.
is obfuscated by an unnecessary mystery box
Mm.
to give you the illusion of tension, as opposed to at the central theme of the story is something that is pretty powerful,
Yeah.
politically bold for the time that it's being released in 1969, in the throes of in the throes of Vietnam. And certainly there's a clash between conservative and liberal ideals, no much more than the round of, I don't know which way feminism, but talking about outright contraception in this.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, actually, let me check my notes. "Oh, no, life is sacred, dum, 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 dum." And then I wrote, "IUDs and birth control are not abortifacients," but I wrote that in all capital letters. We'll get to it.
Well,
But the
well,
very fact that Kirk is like, "Sorry, birth control?" Like, is a very normal, common thing, very, like, obvious, like or, like yeah, or any kind of procedures at all. Anyway, yes,
yeah,
yeah, good points, good points.
yes. Um, but it all of these things are completely, like I said, obfuscated for
Yeah.
something that is extremely similar to the episode that we just got like 6 episodes ago, Wink of an Eye, where
Mhm.
Kirk is isolated on a ship
Right.
with another
A
woman,
lady.
and his crew is not available for some reason. And surprise, it's this convoluted thing because they need something. Whereas in Wink of an Eye, they needed his Kirk juice. Here they need Kirk's blood.
They literally need his blood because they need the dormant virus that he had that was called vegan something or other.
Let's get to it. The central mystery of the thing is not that exciting. The themes that they're trying to examine are extremely exciting, but the episode is not interested in interrogating it outside of the kind of the lip service that they're paying to it, because they understand that it's a Star Trek and they know that like philosophy was important to the show at one point. Yeah. And then they just kind of get back to the shenanigans. The bureaucracy part is kind of interesting to me, but also there's diminishing returns on that, with just Spock
Oh,
attempting to navigate bureaucracy and speaking bureaucracy successfully, and the
right.
frustrations therein. But it's not really examining that so much as it really feels like it is filling time because they understand they have to deliver an episode.
there's like a billion things that they could do. They could just take the risk and be like, "Yeah, let's not mystery box it, and let's just confront it head on and deal with repercussions." Um, Literally take him down to the planet, start watching people get sick around him. What does that look like from, like, an emotional perspective
You
of just,
can't
like
do that. It costs money.
right, because, yeah, there's people in that yeah, you can't pay those people. So if you've got the shoestring budget of $12, you can't do that. You've gotta have them isolated, no extras even, you're just on the ship alone. Okay, well, if you're working within your constraints, we got a San Marino thing here. Why not then lean into the horror of the thing, right? Which I'm always going to be here for. Like, at first it was deeply creepy. Why not keep it so creepy? What's the one episode we watched? Oh, The Empath. Like, the way that The Empath, the production design of it, right? Like, that's a very similar vibe. It's extremely creepy, because you are very much in a space of um, discomfort. Like it creates a sense of discomfort, which why not do something dynamically with your ideas there if you're not going to actually interrogate anything at all?
Mhm.
But no, we don't even do that. All of a sudden, we
No.
just run into another dancing lady. So here we are, and we've got a lot of talk about diplomacy and bureaucracy that to me felt like we were filling space. I was deeply, deeply bored and annoyed by it.
Yes.
I'm like, at this point, I don't know what you're saying about diplomacy anymore. If you're saying anything of note, interesting that once again to me we're being really hateful of or being down on a way of solving conflict that doesn't look like violence, which seems at odds with our way of the sort of our values here. But all
Mhm.
right. Um they also work within such a bureaucratic structure. Like, fuck you. You know what's up.
Which there's something interesting about that because I mean we allude to Starfleet and the Federation being this larger system,
Mhm.
but because the show is more interested in talking
Well,
about this group of individuals as opposed to the system that it fits into at large,
sure.
except for like Commodores coming in and being like, I actually outrank you.
Well,
We're
in
going to
this
do something that you disagree with. But the
I
show
think
is,
consistently Starfleet gives an order that they go against because the order is the wrong order. There's
Mhm.
a very, like, Kids on Bikes-esque feeling to that where they're just like, "Our parents aren't gonna help us, so we gotta help ourselves."
Yeah.
And I know I get caught up on the concept and the idea of the, like, well, they're supposed to be, like, proponents of this, like, beautiful new system and stuff, but they're always individualistic. But you
This
wouldn't have a
episode
show without it, so
And this episode isn't interested in interrogating the
Mhm.
lack of value within a bureaucracy as widespread
Well,
as Starfleet or the Federation, because it's just directing it's directly interacting with this one planet. And the weapon of bureaucracy is interesting, but there's diminishing returns. And also, I just feel compelled to say not every episode has to be about something, but
right.
whenever you are bothering to make an episode that really isn't about something, you have to make sure that it's supplanted with something,
Something
something,
interesting.
some
Something.
sort of substance that pops. In this
Yes.
episode, there is it is
Blah,
like it's like wet
blah.
celery.
What? Well, celery's pretty wet. Maybe like
No,
dry
but
celery.
no. Like wet celery, like it's just been like sitting in the refrigerator for so long,
Oh, that it
like the
gets
moist.
soggy?
Yeah, thank you,
Oh.
soggy celery. And you're like,
Mm.
there was promise here. I
There
enjoy
was.
celery. And you are telling me that this is celery? No, sir. Or
No.
ma'am. Or legend.
I did
It's either that's the three genders, sir, ma'am, or legend.
um, I am a little curious. I don't think the episode cares about this, but you know what? I care about this.
Good job, Aspen.
Why are we trying to get a planet in the Federation that doesn't wanna be in the Federation?
Uh, Central question.
Like, what are you trying to do, Federation? Like
I understand why the planet would want stuff from the
right.
Federation.
Yeah.
Um, but at the same time, the contradiction that this planet also wants to be staunchly isolationist, which I don't look. The rules of what the Federation is at this point within Star Trek is extremely malleable.
Yeah.
Sometimes they are an interventionalist force that is coming in and telling you that your way of governing is wrong.
Mhm.
Sometimes it is like in Mirror Mirror, where it's just like, you don't want to dilithium? Nope. Consider that. We'll just leave you alone.
Bye.
And this episode, for some reason, they're pursuing something with these staunchly isolationist folks that are at the same time are dealing with overpopulation. Um, but whatever. Hand waving away. We need an episode to happen because there's 50 minutes in the schedule, and gosh darn it, we got
We'll
to make an
fill it
episode.
with something.
Yeah,
So yeah, that makes sense that the negotiation would be we want to be part of the Federation, but we also want to stick to our own rules.
sure, sure.
Um, which is its own kind of interesting question around um uh what that like that kind of like what we've talked about in the past of cultural relativism or absolutism or what is say appropriate like a different kind of cultural rule within a context, right? Like what are we know, and then like the negotiation is saying like who gets to decide. So that in and of itself could be interesting. The real reason they wanted is because they wanted to get him because he had this disease when he was younger, and they want to snag him, and then they want to be like, now that you've fallen in love with my daughter, come down and live there and continue to infect people because we have an overpopulation problem. Cool, fine. Okay, you have an overpopulation problem. Okay, why do you have an overpopulation? Because we love life.
We love life. We value it.
um, that's it. And magically, they all live forever because they love life.
They're socks, dudes.
Well, and so yeah, like that is like the implication. Okay, so the other thing is that like when Kirk was like, "Hey, there are ways to," so okay, the implication by the way is just people are pregnant all the time.
All the
And
time.
all the time,
All
which
the time.
that's what the real horror of this is, like people like presumably women, that's a bad presumption. People, I don't know. I don't know what the like what it looks like down there. People are always pregnant. Um, also, just need to clarify, it's not just women that can get pregnant. Um, any like people are pregnant
Mhm.
all the time.
Everyone, everyone on the planet is pregnant at all times.
Yeah,
Every
like
single person.
that's a
Everyone.
real horror.
All of them.
Maybe they have like Bajoran births. And it's just like really nice all the time. And it's like
Yeah.
the birth is actually a lovely experience and everything's been great.
It's been great. Yeah.
It's just been great. But at the same time, so because that is the implication within it. And so when Kirk's like, "Hey," like because I think what he was
What
asking about wasn't
what
necessarily like a birth control. It was maybe like getting your tubes tied or getting vasectomies or like something that would be like an actual surgical procedure. Because then what's his name is like, no, the body's just like undo it. It just like fixes itself. Which is
Mhm.
why I'm wondering if the like, well, why would a virus work? Like, would like if they threw themselves off of buildings, would then the body fix itself? Like what? Like what are the rules?
There
What
are
are the
too
rules?
what are the rules? There are too many world building questions to make this a successful
Yeah,
episodes. And look at me.
I'm looking.
I love a great hand wave whenever you're just like,
Right.
whatever, shut up. The episode just
If
has to happen.
if it's valuable and if it's supported by good emotionality and yeah.
But then the world building questions at the
Yeah.
center of the episode are so juicy.
Yes.
You could hang an entire episode on it. And also,
Yes.
this is an episode that was filmed in 1968. And so they're pushing at the limits
Yeah.
of what they can talk about, and they're having to fit within the confines of what is acceptable. And what is interesting is that in previous versions of this episode, the mystery box was not there.
Mm,
The themes were out in the open, and then at some point they were just like, we have to have more action or something along those lines. And so
okay.
the central themes just kind of get scaled back, and then also with budgetary concerns, scale those things back. And now we're on yet another episode that is locked on the Enterprise and Kirk and some other person, the only two people that are bouncing around. And then you've got one set that is the alien planet, and then the chilling image of opening to the porthole
I will say, fucking
and the
scary.
people bouncing around. I recall that image very much within my head whenever watching this episode, because it's a chilling image.
Right.
Um, but it's out there, and our characters are in here. and it's really difficult to dramatize these things whenever I don't know if you know this audience, but Aspen and I teach improv comedy.
Oh my God. Wow,
We are
wow,
truly
wow.
legends. But as teachers of narrative structure and narrative theory,
Improvisational theater.
sorry,
Gross.
calling it comedy is an affront to the medium.
Ew, like
Improvisational,
we're not like just trying to be funny because that's like what fools are.
make no mistake, we do improvisational theater for you to be compelled, the central tension.
My God.
It's about tension and catharsis and
Ooh,
release.
what is comedy? Ooh, it's about
Ooh,
commitment.
the only comedy that I like is Commedia dell'arte. Mask Work, John
Mask work.
Stone. Heard of him?
Heard of him?
Aspen, I think this might be our greatest episode of Trek Wars yet. I'm going to really enjoy listening back to this one. But anyways, I'm talking about you cut to the
What?
window. You cut to Kirk and O'Donna, where you best believe that the writers of this
Donna.
episode were listening to the radio and they were like, got it. Great. We've got 4 more hours to write the script. That's not true. The writers worked very, very hard, and everyone worked very, very hard in this
Yes.
episode.
They drank their Folgers.
TV is abysmally hard, and a lot of people suffer. So we can just inhale it. We're not talking about that.
We're not talking
Anyways,
about that.
they're looking outside in the window of people because there are so many people on the planet that they
Ugh.
are just everywhere.
It's creepy as shit.
But unfortunately,
Ugh.
Kirk and O'Donna are watching it happen outside.
Yeah.
And there's a different kind of dramatic tension whenever you're watching it happen to someone else versus our main characters. And our main character
Yes.
suddenly has to experience the horrors of overpopulation, but is consistently something that is told and kind of shown, but never dramatically experienced. And it fails on, I mean, this episode fails on so many levels.
7 levels. I mean, can you imagine if they
Yes.
had
Next question.
Yes. Okay. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Great.
I'm
Next
actually
question.
doing really well. I got I caught up on a lot of sleep over the weekend, and it makes me
Fantastic.
I feel very good.
Fantastic. Okay,
Yeah.
back to my first question. So well, no, here's my thought. If they'd had the budget, if they'd had the space,
If
like
they had $14
14
as opposed to 12 episodes and a tuna salad sandwich.
and couple cents.
What do you mean there's no
couple
crafty?
bits.
You mean that this entire crew and cast have to eat this one tuna salad sandwich?
Have to share it, cut it into
I
little
don't make the
pieces.
rules. You gotta ask Mr. Paramount over there.
Is the Paramount's like, oh well, should have gotten your wife to make you a sandwich.
Oh, hey, oh, hickory dickory dock.
The mouse ran up the clock, and that's you. You're the mouse.
Boom.
So, you like my cigar?
I love your cigar work. And you can only see that cigar work youtube.com/@TrekWarsPod.
So, like a good neighbor, like a good horror film or a good horror, like you can, if the idea is what is just right outside of the space, like you
Mhm.
can see this being like, okay, what do you do with the medium that is given to you or the restraints that are given to you? Okay, we're in here and it's terrifying. Like, we don't know what's happening. We're actually a little scared. We're trying to be like, she's more scared. All of a sudden, yeah, we open it up and then there's faces and there's this and there's a swarm. It's terrifying and then it disappears, right? And then it, like the monster of any good horror film, grows and gets until it's you, and then it is upon you. And now we're in a space where, like, I could even imagine the scene of like Kirk being like, no, 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 just like surrounded by humans,
Yeah.
just like packing him into like a space, and like maybe like the room would be completely black and dark, and then it'd just be like faces flashing in front of him as like the light hits it, horrifying, and then he's like pulled from the space, and it's just like that's the reality of
Oh,
right.
yeah. And then
Oh,
suddenly you have an interesting question of being like, sure, this planet did something that is abhorrent to Captain Kirk, but at the same time, your character has just experienced it. And now they have an interesting moral quandary where they're like,
right.
sure, a crime has been committed against me, but also the experience that I've felt is so abhorrent.
Yes. And everyone's pregnant. It's awful.
Every single person.
Every single person is pregnant.
It's so dense. Every single person on the planet has so much pregnancy.
um, then I feel like it starts to feel like it has more weight as opposed to like him being like, here's a solution, then being like, oh no, 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 no. We really love life. And then you're like, what are you
Okay.
talking about, my dude?
Dramatize that.
Yeah, what are you talking about? Is it that like it like cuz love it like I mean, it's hard not to have my own personal, like, current view, like, looking at that, like, if that were to happen now, I'd be a touch like, "I'm sorry, are you being, like, anti-abortion rights on this?" Like,
Or
he even says, like, the life of a fetus, and I'm like, "Hey, a condom has no effect on a fetus." Like, my dude,
yeah.
like, IUDs have no effect usually on a fetus, like, these are not abortifacients. Also, abortion is great, but, if we're
Uh,
getting to
abortion is
this
great.
but if
Yeah.
we're getting into the details
We
here,
are getting into the details because
like
this episode begs the questions
yeah, well, yeah, and it's asking
briefly.
stupid questions. It's asking pretty okay
They're not
questions, but
stupid questions. They are
yeah,
great questions, but then the episode is just like,
them
or
being stupid about it. Yeah.
we could be with Kirk and O'Donnell in an empty corridor
Watching
without
them
tension and not
fall in
dramatizing
love?
again.
This is where that character stuff, I'm like, "No, I drew" like, season 3 is where everybody gets the idea of Kirk being
Ooh, yeah, I think you're right. Which
like,
is interesting because as we've covered in These Are the Voyages, season 3 by Mark Cushman and Susan Osborne,
as
this was
we've
the season where there was a more concerted effort to do quote unquote with me, Aspen, women's
women
stories.
stories, which
It's
if
so
we're
interesting that whenever you assign the label of women's stories, suddenly the stories get more boring as opposed to what the women loved, which is stories that were themselves.
yeah, stories that are, like, about characters engaging with one another and having feelings and exploring emotional things, or for, like, in the case of, like, a Spock, manage like, dealing with those deep-seated emotions and what that like, his implications for him. It's why the DC Fontana episodes are so interesting, like, people who just genuinely understand them as characters and know what drives good story. Like, yeah, I'm all for people kissing, believe me. That's not a femme, like, woman, like, kind of story. That's an
You
everybody story. People loves kissing, but
you might
people
have
loves kissing.
you might have read about a Los Angeles theater getting burned down after showing Twisters. That was the screening that Aspen went to, and you threw a Molotov cocktail at the screen whenever Glenn Powell and Daisy Edgar Jones, is that her name?
Yeah.
Whenever they
Yes.
didn't kiss.
Kenny Madison. The
Aspen,
fact that those 2 did
Webster.
not kiss is an actual travesty.
This isn't a Twisters podcast, Aspen.
I'm enraged.
Aspen, please don't burn down this house.
Cowards.
Please don't burn down this house.
Coward.
Please
Steven
don't burn down this
Spielberg.
house.
Coward.
Steven Spielberg is a coward.
You hurt me. Anyway, I like it when people kiss. The
So
show
let's
I don't like boring bullshit.
talk about something that's not boring, an example of good dramatization and compelling dramatization and throwing a wrench into the conceptions of things that we had previously understood as just kind of existing in one certain paradigm,
Yeah.
which is the hidden enemy. As we talked in earlier episodes, specifically Cloak of Darkness, whenever we had a Senate commando go rogue,
Yeah.
and within the Filoni zoning,
Yeah.
within that, Filoni went, it's too early for clones to turn. And this is a story that they are entertaining. And now, to invoke definitely a Star Trek term, Chekhov's gun,
Yeah. 100% Star Trek related.
totally Pavel Chekhov's gun, the playwright Pavel Chekhov. But now we finally we got
Captain.
it. The
We got
promise has
it.
been filled, and now we've got a clone that is functioning in individualist terms. And
Yes.
suddenly, our concepts of the clones, as perfectly established in the 2002, I'm going to say it,
Yeah.
a masterpiece, Attack of the Clones.
A masterpiece. I mean, not as bad.
Anakin's over there saying, "I don't like sand." Well, I do like sand. That's how
Sand
good Attack of the Clones is.
witches. Man, we're doing great. This episode is great. You know
It's so
what?
it's so dense. Every single image has so much going on.
And no one's pregnant
No.
yet. Yet. It will be in 3 years, and it will be Padme. No one else will be pregnant. Um, I there it is very interesting, very compelling. They don't quite okay, well, first, we'll start with how we talk about Detective Batman? Something very fun about Detective.
Detective Batman,
Yeah,
the
I know.
world's greatest
The world's greatest detective.
detective.
Yeah,
Hold on,
yeah.
let me access the Matt Reeves Batman movie whenever he can't figure out. He is the world's greatest detective. But clearly, the clue that the Riddler left in a city that famously has a Batman is a
Oh,
stool pigeon.
yeah.
Definitely something that is within the lexicon of the film. A movie that I gave 4 stars on Letterboxd because it's got good vibes. But at the
We're
same
talking about the
time,
Pattinson one, right?
yeah.
Yeah,
And at
yeah.
the same time, there's 40 minutes of real estate, it seems like,
It's
dedicated to stool pigeon.
wild.
Still better than Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice,
Oh,
a
of
movie
course.
that Arizona Mark loves.
McClunky.
But also, you're right, Batman. The vibes are so good, so it
Anyways,
works.
sorry. You invoked Detective Batman.
And also Detective Obi-Wan, another famous detective. It's really nice to watch the dynamic duo of Detective Rex and Detective Cody.
Mhm.
Um, our favorite clone commanders. Is Cody commander yet, or still a captain? Or Rex still a captain? But they they're basically what's fun about Rex and Cody is that they like basically they're like attached to Obi-Wan and Anakin. Like Rex is Anakin, Cody is Obi-Wan. Which is fun. We like that. It's nice to see them together having to be like, we can't let them know. We need to solve this ourselves. We need to figure it out. And going through that and the sort of questioning and the tension that's building of like who it could be and like chases. Very noir, very cool, very like thriller. So yeah. No?
Should I know who Cody and Rex are
Let me think about that.
by this point?
You would know Cody
I mean, I know Cody because in
of the
episode 3,
movies. Yeah.
come on, Cody,
Yeah.
take my lightsaber. And he's like, you got it, boss.
Yeah.
Hello?
Well, and then it is Cody that
Yeah,
receives, like, you see him explicitly receive Order 66, which is devastating once you've watched a lot of Clone Wars,
great.
that it
And I
would
know
be Cody.
Rex, having been someone that has watched all of Rebels, and I know him
Right.
because you know what he's got that Cody doesn't have?
Friends?
A great big bushy beard.
A great big bushy beard and big muscles. Yes. Yes, Jim Broadbent. Great big bushy beard. Jugglers.
Crusty jugglers.
Crusty jugglers. Yeah, so of course, yeah, Rex comes back into play in Rebels, spoiler. Very close with Ahsoka. At this point, I think this probably is your biggest this is like the biggest Cody Rex episode. This would be the one
Mhm.
for you to be like, these are characters I give a shit about. Rex is in the movie, he shows up. He has interactions with Ahsoka. They
Okay.
become, as you know, because of Rebels, very close.
Yeah.
Cody is there, but I think this is the first like their episode, which
Mhm.
is very cool. To reflect on that. I enjoy that.
Very cool.
It is listen, here's my analysis, my critical analysis. This is very cool. Listen, I'm just having a great time. I was not having a great time otherwise. I was
There's something to be said
honkshoe
about the success of vibes.
the what vibes?
The success of vibes.
Oh, the success of vibes. I thought you said the successive, and I was like, is successive like a form
There's
of
something to be said
succession? The
about
film, the show,
succession vibes.
succession vibes. I was like, wow, wow, wow.
My father,
My father,
you know.
Django Fett.
Yeah.
Yeah. um, yeah, there's a fun and there's like a fun sort of like they're the same, but there's a touch of an A plot, B plot happening that's really compelling. Like it starts with a battle that's really interesting, in which they are clearly like they know all of what they're like all of the steps they're taking. And it's good, I think, to watch them fail. Really good, I think,
Mhm.
for storytelling. And it makes for good storytelling, and there's a reason for it, and that leads to something compelling, which is, what does it mean when we do have a traitor in our ranks? Like, what could be the
What?
motivations for that? A traitor in our ranks? I didn't realize you added that.
I did while you were talking earlier.
Oh my god. Um, yeah, but to start with that, to start with a failure, good, because we win too much, you know?
Mhm.
And this is a war, they're battles, and Ventress can't lose every time because I need her to keep her job because she's too hot to lose it. Anyway.
As recent poet laureate Chapel Roan would establish,
Yeah, sure.
Asajj is HOTTOGO.
Oh, you can take her out to go.
Yeah.
Ventress. Yeah, when we get to I Star Ship It, I'm just gonna think of a random person to ship her with because
Asajj in that tree that she passed.
right, like she can be with anyone. It's just hot, I swear to God. Ventress in her own arms.
Yeah.
God damn, I love that she's like, time to fight. Whoosh! What a hottie with a body. Am I right? Yeah,
It's
what'd you think?
also, I mean, it was a pretty good episode.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's a fun episode. It's fun.
Spoiler alert, it's definitely better than Mark of Gideon. Clone Wars is definitely getting into its own rhythm. I'm very much
Mm.
enjoying it. It's very fun to watch. I look forward to it every week. What is also interesting about this is the fact that the A plot is the clones and the B plot are Anakin and Obi-Wan,
100%.
which is
Great.
it's great. And also, I don't know, maybe I'm just giving the show too much credit, but it's changing what Star Wars is.
Give it
Because
more credit.
well, Obi-Wan, well, this is whenever Dave Filoni used to try, and that's pretty good.
Okay, calm down. Calm down. Get out of here. Oh my God.
But giving well, and also this was a George story
A
because
George story.
George was like, well, what if a clone was a Benedict Arnold?
What if that were true, George? How would you play that?
Uh, me, I
Yeah,
would
how
play
would you
the
play that
clone.
out? Oh,
I
would
would,
you? I meant how would you play
I
that out? But
well,
now I'm like,
I put a little helmet on.
oh,
I
yeah,
put a little teeny tiny armor.
George. Is Star
Uh,
Wars just helmets?
the whole so George actually pitched to us, what if the clones were what if there's a clone that was a Benedict Arnold? And so initially we went to Ralph McQuarrie's designs. We made a planet that was a big Benedict Arnold. And George said that wasn't exactly quite right. And then it cuts to Killian Plunkett, and
Wait,
he's like, what was interesting about
nope.
this? Go on.
No, it's
What
Irish.
was interesting
Yeah,
about
Irish.
this?
Irish.
What was interesting about this challenge
Yes,
is
there it is.
that we'd never done texturing of a Benedict Arnold type planet. And so we actually had to pull from previous assets in order to kind of make the new texture fluid, but at the same time having some sort of lived in quality.
You did
And
it.
then George said, what do, the planet's one bit Benedict Arnold, can't you just make it like a planet? And I
What?
went, that would have saved us so much time, George.
What if you just had a one-man show and it's just called the Filoni Zone? And then Matthew Wood's like, "Hi, it's me, Matthew Wood. I do a lot of voices."
George pitched to us it would be fun to have kind of different kind of voices for the clones, and so we made a whole planet that was voices.
But they were all still D. Bradley Baker.
That's true. And again, I want to reiterate, I'm liking Dave Filoni's work here, and I like
Good.
the way I like the way that Star Wars is changing. I like that this is finding its own identity,
Yes.
even though it's frustrating from the pre-existing knowledge that I have.
Uh-huh.
But whenever I bother to take it on its own terms,
Yes.
is doing some interesting things.
That's right, Kenny.
Also,
And you know what that means?
what?
I'm a winner.
The applause count sound effects is so far
When
away.
when we started this podcast, I said, "You know what's better? Star Wars."
And you
I'm
know what
telling you.
you know what I said? I said
What
Star Trek's better.
and I said, "You're wrong. We should try to prove it."
Salute.
And we're right in a space where I'm right.
That's true. um, what is also interesting about that, I don't for some reason, the Battle of Christophsis is just locked in my mind, and this show is not afraid to play loose with chronology.
Mhm,
This is an episode that is definitely taking place before the movie.
mhm.
Ahsoka's not even on the table. Doesn't matter because structurally, for the journey that we're taking all of these characters on, this makes more sense to put it towards the last third of the season as opposed to at the beginning. It sets a completely different timber if you have a clone
Oh,
betray you at the beginning
no.
versus towards the end. We're going on an evolution from we're having a whole bunch of space adventures, kind of win the audience over with the fact that we can do a Star Wars animated TV show, and now let's start taking it, let's tilt it by 2 degrees and then 3 degrees and then 5 degrees. And suddenly we're going to get
Right.
into some new territory.
And can you tell me more about why you think it is special that the clone story is the A story?
You ask a Star Wars fan in 2009
Mhm.
what Star Wars is about, and it's going to be like the tragedy of Darth Vader because that's the big marketing point, right? It's about the Skywalkers.
Sure.
You got episodes 1 through 6. No one ever talks about droids, Ewoks, whatever.
No.
And for all of Lucas's flaws as a dramatic storyteller,
Uh-huh.
he is not light on ideas that are challenging your notions of what Star Wars can be.
Yeah. I mean,
And
he
this is an idea that comes this is an idea that came from George.
he used so much Filoni. Where's your hat?
A Wampa ate it.
Oh my god. I'm so sorry to just skin that wampa for taking it.
Yes, next question. So,
How are you?
and Dave Filoni is the good kind of yes man where it takes George's idea
Mhm.
and is able to fashion that into something that is dramatically successful.
Yeah, absolutely. Because it is a good
And
idea. And
it is a good idea. And if this were only like Dave Filoni existing within a vacuum, maybe it would be just a little bit too reverential. I don't I well, I'm also thinking about Gendy Tartakovsky
yeah.
and how those 3 seasons of Clone Wars that he made fit into your preconception of what the Jedi were before we got the prequels. They're
Mhm.
superpowered badasses. And here, textually, the episode is now putting more dramatic import on the clones
Mhm.
versus ostensibly who are your 2 stars of the prequel trilogy. And that means something.
Plo Koon and Yaddle. I
Yes.
wish, man. Those 2 rule.
One
Uh
is Masky and the other one's a smooth shorty.
um, Masky and Shorty, Smooth Shorty. I I I think that I'm sorry, I got so distracted thinking about Smooth Shorty. I'm sent astray by setting up jokes. Um, there is I'm trying to think of, like, his compelling reason for the betrayal. And I'm trying to think back on it because there's still a lot of countering, like, he's like I mean, basically, at its core, the way I took it was like, "We're just being thrown out there to be killed, and whose war is this?"
Which is then galvanized brilliantly. We got another banger ending where the Jedi kind of walk off to more adventure and the clones are just kind of left there. And it's a little bit of a bittersweet, not
Yeah,
even bittersweet, a bitter ending because these clones are blindly following orders.
yeah.
And Slick
Mhm.
has a point.
Yeah, I mean, this is they are not droids, they are human beings, and they are you can't deny that there's a touch of almost like there'd have to be like some brainwashing in there, right? You're raised with one purpose and that is it. So what does it look like when you do a different, like when you seek something else?
It depends. We don't exactly know what the systems are as of yet. We just know that the clones are grown in big blue jars.
Mhm.
They have some lunch.
Yep.
They learn in front of some screens, and then at some point they're given a gun to fight.
Yeah. And you see that like I think we've already seen with Ricky. Nope, Ricky's doesn't have it. There's an episode later where you actually see like training. Actually, that same group, but it's like pre-rookies. You see them training and what that looks like.
Mhm.
You and uh yeah, but absolutely. But I mean, there has to be something kind of inherent to it, right? I mean, whether and I'm not saying it's Brave New World-esque while in vitro brainwashing. It's more like you are raised with a purpose, and that is your whole purpose in this world. Um, so of course it's going to be interesting when someone's like, "I both love my brothers and am also very contrary to this." And I am like I can't really look down on it. They push back really hard. They're like, "You're hurting us. You're hurting your brothers by doing this." And it's like, but he's seeking justice on a grander scale. Um, and I can't hate it, Like I
Yep.
think it's a great pushback. And also two things can be true. This can
And
be
again,
unjust and also I love you. I
this
love you
this
so much.
this season at first laying the groundwork for like good space adventures, and then we're peppering in. But like, who's the real baddies?
Who are the real baddies?
2 episodes that, in their own way, are interrogating some sort of system or bureaucracy.
Sure.
Aspen,
What?
calm down.
I
Calm down.
I don't I mean,
I didn't say both of them were doing it well.
I didn't even I was just like, "How?" At first I was like, "What are you talking about?" And then I was like, "Oh, the other episode."
You know, the Star Trek episode that we both railed against or being dramatically functionless
I don't even know how it's questioning bureaucracy. It just, like, wasn't
because
even clear enough.
it's it,
Did I fall asleep?
maybe
Maybe.
yes. Possibly one of those things where you watch the episode and then at the same time your brain was like, I could just check out for 30 minutes, right?
Maybe. I mean, the bureaucracy of having to go through the diplomacy and have negotiations, I guess. But
Yeah.
so I guess in that way, there is a sort of respect for the agency of a group of people. And the I mean, ostensibly, it sounds like the Enterprise crew is coming in just being like, "Why they gotta be this way? Like, just fucking sign the thing and get over yourselves. Like, stop having your own, like, beliefs. Like, ugh, diplomacy just prolongs a crisis, blah, 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 blah."
Snore
Which is
diplomacy,
absurd, by the way, to be like, "Why are these people being so, like, difficult about this?"
which Star Trek can be if it just like wakes up on the wrong side of the bed and suddenly it's just like, they're stupid. But then the next week, depends on how white presenting that they are, quite frankly.
Star Wars or Star Trek?
Star Trek.
Yeah,
I'm thinking about like the Apple where they seem to have
right.
a benevolent god, and Kirk's like, nope, y'all have darker skin.
Yep.
Blam!
Brrr. Um, and so I guess in that way, if we're looking at systems, there's a real similarity in the Jedi Order and the Senate just being like, yeah, what is your agency? You don't really have any. You have a purpose, and that's all you live for, and that's all you die for. Like, who are you to this? And just get over it. Like, get over the like the bureaucracy, or like there's
We must preserve the system.
we must
We
preserve
must
the
preserve the
system.
status quo,
And the preserving of the status quo means your body is forfeit, basically.
which is my least favorite John Mayer song.
Your body is forfeit. You're pregnant all the time. Pregnant all the time. Oh boy.
Do we have anything else to say about these episodes before we move on to the next segment?
Are we talking? Is it I mean, we talked about thematic connections, right? That's our thematic connection we pulled.
Yeah,
Anything else though?
not particularly. I imagine that we'll have more to say during the ranking segment. But until then,
A long time ago, start date this week. I courted a beau, I dated a geek, but none none of them could warp my drive into hyperspace. The best of both worlds kept me in second place. Captain's log on a holocron. I wanted a snog. I penned a song. 17 more minutes of thighs in super high def.
Oopsie.
Aboard the USS Enterprise. DTF.
Oopsie.
Don't you take my Ewok glider and clip it.
Oopsie.
Don't you take my red shirt buddy and nip it. If you spill the tea, I'm gonna sip it.
Oopsie.
I starship it.
Oopsie.
What are we doing, Aspen?
We shall now name our favorite ships that sail through the sky and our favorite ships that sail through our hearts.
Yar.
Yar, yar, yar. From either episode. I don't know then. Can I go first?
Yes, I will permit it, but tread lightly, counselor. You're on thin ice.
It's funny. I hope that's our joke forever. Thank you, Jesse Earl. I don't know which ship this is, and I should have gone back and checked. But presumably it is the ship that Asajj Ventress is on that looks like a giant virus. Do you know the one I'm talking about?
What?
Am I crazy? I saw it in passing. There's so many ships in this episode that it's like a veritable feast. But I was like, holy moly. Also, once again, proving that even though this is my segment, I never prepare.
Sure.
So, I can look it up if you think while you think of yours, but I just remember being like, that ship is so cool.
Is it the fan blade ship?
No, because that's her regular ship, which I've already named
Sure.
as being one of my favorites.
Sure.
Maybe it wasn't her ship. I thought it was the ship that she came down on. It looks like a giant. It looks like a virus. Like it kind of comes down and has like a sort of in here, and then like the legs come out, and it's like reddish.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, it's
well,
rad.
While you examine that and see if there's a more specific name, although I've written Asajj Ventress's virus ship, I'm
Love
going to put an oldie but a goodie.
Yeah.
The Stap.
What's that?
So you see this. Famously, this was the very first toy that was released for Star Wars Episode 1, which was a battle droid on his flying little bike, really just kind of like a flying Segway. But it was before Segways existed.
Oh, yes, yes. There's a scene in the episode where they like jump off and they jump on the one, like they like just throw the droids off, and it's very funny.
Yeah, that's called a Stap. And also, I mean, I really enjoy that design, possibly just for nostalgia's sake, because I remember that. And then the Mace Windu action figure, those two were the first two toys that you could get for Episode 1 and play with those. And they were so endlessly fascinating for my then, that was 1998, whenever those toys started coming out. So I would have been 10 years old,
Right.
9, 10 years old, endlessly interested in that. So the Stap is my ship of the week.
Love it. That's a great one.
Thank you.
When I find the name of this thing, I'll tell you.
Mm-hmm.
But just believe me,
it
was really cool.
Aspen, I believe you.
I didn't just make it up, right? Like it's not just like in my brain.
I feel like the more that you say that you didn't make it up,
I didn't make it up, right? I didn't.
It feels
I
like
didn't.
it's starting to sound like you made this up.
Did I dream this? Did I
think
dream
so.
this chip and just go? I'm like so obsessed with viruses.
I think that you had 4 warm milkshakes because you were so excited at the fact that you were having milkshakes. And then you went to a classic warm milkshake dream where you were just dreaming about the bacteria that was floating around in the warm milkshakes.
God.
And because you fell asleep watching Ahsoka for the 5th time.
Oh yeah, my
Those two
favorite
things
show.
The only thing that would have improved that is if Ahsoka had a helmet.
Yeah, and it would have been because Star Wars is helmets. It's fine. I've given up. We'll pretend it's real. Anyway, emotional ships. Emotional relationships. I'm going to deliver on my promise.
Here we go.
And I'm going to pair Asajj Ventress with someone.
Here we go.
I've already put her with Anakin. I've
All right.
already put her with Obi-Wan, so I can't redo those.
You can't.
I can't.
It would
So I'm
break
just
decorum.
gonna put her with any random battle droid.
What?
I gotta put her with someone. Someone put her with her battle droid. Oh, I'm gonna put her with the leader, he's the head of the he's part of the separatists. He's like one of like the lead separatists. He's like that lead droid guy. You know who I'm talking about?
The
Wow.
lead droid guy?
Man, I'm saying a lot of things that don't have any details tonight.
Not one of the Nemoidians.
No, 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 no. No, 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 no. Let me see. What's his name? I got you. There's is it the tactical droid? Is it maybe it's just the tactical droid. Okay. I'm putting her with tactical droid.
Asajj Ventress and a tactical droid. Mine's
I
Kirk
just-
and O'Donna. What do you want from me?
I want everything from you. Can
Donna.
I just expand just slightly?
Yeah, I guess. Isn't my
Asajj?
ship disappointing?
No, it's not, and I want to hear more. Asajj Ventress, just to talk about this,
Sure.
has chemistry with everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Every droid, every Dooku,
Every Dooku.
every Obi-Wan, Ahsoka. But right now Ahsoka's too young, so we had to keep her out of it. She has chemistry with everybody. So what I'm just demonstrating here, which is the fact that you could put her with a tactical droid and it would still be hot as shit. She'd make it work. She'd make it work and it would be a little messy. Anyway, it's Kirk and Adana.
Why? Because they were like, Kirk was like, you have hair. That's pretty sexy.
He does grab the back of her head in a very attractive way.
It's true.
It's very gentle and sweet.
But what is not gentle and sweet is the central conceit of this podcast. Of course, art is a binary. It's either good or it's bad. And so do we become the arbiters of justice as we assign a numerical ranking to both of these properties. Again, the Mark of Gideon from Star Trek, the original series, season 3, versus Hidden Enemy from Star Wars, the Clone Wars, season 1. Aspen, why don't you go first with Hidden Enemy?
Hidden Enemy. Man, I think we're just like still in the same space of just
Yeah, dude.
like it's a banger. It's like a 7.6 banger.
7.6 banger.
Yeah. I
Good for
mean,
you.
it's solid, it's interesting. It's got the animation is getting better and better. Fabulous, interesting storylines. Love to see characters get more highlight, more to do, interesting stories coming forth. Beautiful. A glorious time. Ventress, my girlfriend, great time.
I think I'm going to give this one like a 6.6.
Okay. Weird.
It was
But
good.
okay.
It was good.
Oh.
And I still find myself, it's just like, wish there was just a little bit more judge
All right.
to it. That undefinable thing that, of course, being objective critics of art
Yeah.
absolutely
yeah.
can assign to it.
Judge. Yeah,
Judge.
that objective judge
Needs a
that
little
I'm
bit,
looking for.
needs a little bit more.
You think so?
Yeah, I think so.
Maybe you need a little bit more judge.
Well, you know what else needs a little bit more judge? The
Oh
Mark
my
of Gideon. And I'm just going to hop in with my ranking here. I'm just going to give it a 4.
Yeah.
I'm going to give it a 3.9 just because I'm feeling bitter.
Yeah. You sound like you're in a bad mood.
I'm in a pretty good mood today, I gotta say.
Sounds like you're feeling
But-
mean.
But the discussion of the Mark of Gideon, it's disappointing.
Sure. It is.
Much like a passive aggressive father. I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed.
Just disappointed. I mean,
Because
I'm a little
Could be
mad.
better.
I'm a little mad about the mischaracterization of birth control and the fact that everyone is forced to be pregnant all the time just
All
to
of
live.
them.
Just to be clear,
Mhm.
the implications of their stupid world.
Yeah.
It just presumes that people are popping out babies. Do they have resources for people? Do they have resources for those children? People are presumably living an absolutely horrific existence. What do you mean you love life? I know that's what's leading them to this, like, well, now we need to kill people off kind of thing. I get it, but like, fuck you. You don't fucking love life.
Mhm.
You love the idea of life. You're just like any shitty person who doesn't support abortion.
Mhm.
If anybody's wondering about my opinions, you don't actually love life, so get out of here. So it actually does make me grumpy from a philosophical point of view. Anyway, yeah, what's my
Look,
ranking?
I know that women's rights are important, but like, what about the Star Trek episode?
Oh, sorry. Well, you know what I'm going to do? Spite rank it.
Hell yeah.
0.5.
Oh, ooh, you do love to see it. Ooh, makes me feel good. You love to see it.
I guess I should spite rank a Star Wars one eventually to balance it out, but I don't.
No, you don't.
I don't want to spite. Okay. I don't want to
Star
spite
Wars,
rank.
while definitely being guilty of Orientalism and just exoticism of cultures that are just not white, the original series is a lot more brown face, which means that Star Wars wins the week.
Great. Color me surprised.
Hidden Enemy is 7.1 versus the Mark of Gideon's paltry 2.2. You do love to see it, Aspen.
Fuck you. Fuck you.
Which is certainly not a sentiment that we would wish to pass along to our patrons at patreon.com/TrekWarsPod, where for $5 a month, you can get early versions of these episodes and extended versions of these episodes. And just for a mere $1 a month, we'll just say your name. We got 50 slots available for you. We'd love to say your name. And every single bit helps. And you too could join the fine auspices of fine folks such as Timbo DeSosa, Heidi Rogers, Kevin Miller, Arizona Mark, Austin Aaron, and lastly, but certainly not leastly, Joel T. Partner, who was the composer of our I Starship theme song. Our main and ending theme was composed by Mr. Tosin Awofeso, where you can get more of his works within the show notes. Just click on that link and go visit these things. If you don't want to get in touch with us via social media or Patreon, you can email us trekwarspod@gmail.com. And if you do want to interact with us at social media, hop over to Blue Sky or Instagram at trekwarspod. And lastly, but certainly not leastly, you can also visit us at youtube.com/@trekwarspod and watch Aspen wildly gesticulate in versions such as this. Aspen, gotta say, that's some good gesticulating.
Mm-hmm. You're welcome.
Any final thoughts before we call it a night?
Nope. I love you.
And Aspen, I love you too. And audience, we love you. Sincerely, thank you so very much for listening. Leave us a review while you're at it. May the force be with you and live long and prosper.